Hey, thanks for checking out the show. And if you like it, tell a friend. And if you want to support the show, you can by 1, subscribing and liking our YouTube channel at the DMW Podcast. 2, you can go to our website and sign up to our mailing list at the dmwpodcast.com. And 3, you can follow us on Instagram at the DMW Podcast. Thanks again for all of your support. My name is Stef, and this is the Dead Man Walking Podcast. I think we're set up. Evan, you good?
All set.
Awesome, man. So today, this is awesome news. I love having these guys around. Talk with them all the time. We text each other about stupidities. I'm following them all the time for a long time, and I get a chance to sit down and hang out with the guys from Astral Gates. And it's going to be a really fun time just talking about the evolution of this band from where it started, which I remember Dan talking to me about this 2-3 years ago, the project of Astral Gates. And to now having 5 guys here sitting down, this is pretty cool. So, guys, maybe you want to do a quick intro.
What's up, man? First of all, what's up, dude?
What's up?
Thanks for having us.
Right?
Right?
Like, let's be real here. Thank you for making the time, man,
All
and
right.
for showing interest in the project. This is
Awesome.
Astral Gates, man.
Yeah. So
Here we are,
I remember
3 years later.
So we were talking about this just 2 seconds ago that maybe in 2020 around February, we sat down and we were talking about Astral Gates. And you guys had just released a few a few songs, like Wong Tong. And so we were talking about at the time, My Time. There was a bunch of tracks that you guys were releasing at the time.
Yeah.
And so maybe we'll start from that point and just take the story and just how this all started and how everything came to be.
That
So
would've been like the very first releases.
Was the first,
My Time.
first releases were My Time, Dangerous Girl.
That was the dynamic
First EP.
duo era.
Yeah, that was a dynamic duo era, and even well into EP2 for the most part, we were still dynamic duoing quite a bit.
I was in the mix.
But you were always in the mix, but like not as like the mix right now. You know what I mean?
He was mixing.
He was
Like
mixing.
literally the mix.
Literally
Literally
mixing.
mixing.
You're literally mixing, yeah. But insofar as like the writing and putting together the songs, that was all done like independently. Anyhow, that EP finished, and I think at one point I was in Toronto, Evan, right? There was like a 3-4 month stint where I was in Toronto trying to push like the songs and build contacts. And then on the way back from Toronto, I called Dave, and I'm like, Dave, I'm heading to Montreal. I'm gonna put together a band. So I don't
I'm on my way.
exactly. It was one of those, man. It was the open road, and Evan was like, call Dave. Maybe Dave has some people that, can refer. He can refer. So I texted Dave, and I'm like, hey, I need to start with a drummer. Do you know a drummer?
Guys.
Find me the guys. Bring me the
Find
guys. He texted me his own number. So I laugh, and I'm like, okay.
he's so suave. Dave.
So we'll start with you.
The
You know what I
Andrew.
mean? We'll start with you. Who else do you know? And then he gave me their names, and I already knew JJ obviously for a while. Dom, I didn't know, but got to know him now. It's been 3 years. So
How did you know Dom, Dave?
We kind of met here and there. But I mean,
I had come in like 2014 to like record at the Freak Shop, and one of my
I wasn't
former
there for that
bands.
I don't remember it. But
Yeah,
honestly,
you were there for one day, but it was more Derek. But that's when I first met you.
Me and Dom had a conversation actually here out in the back at an event, a party.
Yeah,
I don't know. There was just something that struck me about his presence, his intensity, his interest in music, his passion, and just the way you kind of held yourself. And I was like, this guy,
like this.
good guy. And I kept that sort of in the back of my mind. So I never, when I referred Dom to the project, I had never actually heard Dom
Never
play
play.
a single note. It was all just on human energy.
yeah.
to
So
be
I was
honest.
telling Dave, I'm like, I need a guitar player because like, dude, I need a guy who's gonna play my riffs if I'm doing a solo. Like a guy has to know how to play guitar and knows how to play blues rock, And he had no idea how Dom played. Literally didn't know. It's like he picks up a guitar and it's like, oh great, we've got Slash in the band. You know what I mean? Like perfect.
Literally perfect.
I could
had a
have
feeling that
Imagine if I
Dom-
like just sucked balls.
I could feel that you wouldn't be, man. I could feel that there was just a solid guy in there. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
The power of a conversation
Yeah,
is what
yes,
that
yes,
proved to
of
be
course.
because you didn't know how he played. You just spoke to him.
Oh, you never heard him play?
No.
So just based on a conversation, you're like, yeah, he's
just
the guy.
based on the feeling that I got by hanging out with this guy. Yeah.
And the hair too. The hair
And the hair
also.
was the hair.
Like a
You know?
Super Saiyan aura. Just
Well, I guess that's just like
Jesus.
the mark that I guess you left on me. You know what I mean?
And so
Cool,
wait,
man.
but
Cool.
Evan in this point though was still always part of the writing process.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and now when Evan, like, how are you feeling in the mix? Like having now all these guys here, these guys are jamming, and you're out in Toronto. How's that dynamic going? Just
It honestly, in a way, it didn't change too much in the sense of like, at that point, Dan and I were already like, I was in Toronto, Dan was back in Montreal. We were sending each other stuff back and forth. You know what I mean? Like, one of us had a song demo or idea, whatever. We'd like flesh it out barely, you know, just enough to get the idea across, send it to the other guy, and like it would build from there, like just sending stuff back and forth. So now it would just be like, if Dan was sending me an idea, it'd be like, oh, yo, check out this thing JJ and I came up with, you know, or like this was us in rehearsal, like, you know, check out this idea. What do you think? Can we work with it? And then, you know, it really didn't change too much other than now the source material was like, you know, 5 people coming up with it instead of 2, you know? And yeah, I would say that to this day, it's still kind of that. Like, it's still that sort of back and forth process, which is awesome.
so we understand now how Dom came in. So just through a feeling, Dave, we got it because he DM'd you, like he hit on you basically. And now we have JJ. How did the story with JJ happen?
That was me again.
That was
Because when
He's
Dan,
the matchmaker.
Yeah.
Pretty
He's
much.
the puppeteer, man.
'Cause when Dan reached out to me to say I want to put a band together, you know what I kept in the back of my mind is that the project was awesome. The songwriting is amazing. Dan is a killer guy. Evan, we worked a little bit here in the studio when we produced the first batch of songs. So I was in. You know, I saw an opportunity. I was like, okay, I definitely want to take a chance on the project because it's just super solid, you know. So Dan says, find me guys. Dom and JJ, I mean, I know JJ is a super solid bass player, and JJ is a great guy. So I knew that JJ would make the band sound good.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of surprised because I haven't been in an original project since 2007, and nor did I think I was going to rejoin any original project at this point because I'm sort of a blues-based bassist and kind of sort of picky. Not going to settle with any original project. But when I came for the first jam, it was right up my alley, and had a great time since.
Did they actually show up to the first jam? I remember the first jam when we had
Also,
a
was I at a first jam, or did you guys jam like
No,
before?
I was there.
That was one of your many no-shows, Dom.
Yeah,
in that, yeah, I love that he didn't say no.
You were there, Dom.
yeah,
Yeah.
So our first jam was the
Right.
same jam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the
What?
4 of us. Yeah.
That's
Remember
cool, man.
Yeah. We just played covers.
Yeah.
What'd you guys cover on? You just walked in like a list of covers? Or you
Yeah,
guys
it was
already
like
knew
we're
some
gonna get
covers?
together and
Dan's
jam.
like,
and
man, I learned John Mayer, some
Yeah,
Eric
who was
Clapton,
the John Mayer
some
song?
Black
Always
Keys,
John
some
Mayer.
Gary
Yeah,
Clark
it
Jr.
was great,
And I was
man.
like,
Who did you
Oh,
think
I
I was?
remember,
right?
some of the
Yeah.
tracks.
I'll learn probably one of
Crossroads,
those.
I think.
yeah.
And do the rest by ear.
And that's what we did. We just jammed.
Black Keys, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so how did the writing start though at that point? So you guys were jamming covers, you said this is clicking, and then how did the writing change now, having the band versus just you and Evan?
Yes and no. Like it's a mix of both. Like there's still songs I'll write. There's songs that Evan will write. There's songs that we will write. Now then there's some ideas we'll bring in and we'll jam with the band and we'll continue writing it. Then there's ideas that come organically through jamming with the band that you end up writing songs with. So now it's just like you have different creative
Nice.
points. Yeah, little creative channels. Whereas before it would be like, okay, I'm writing, he's writing.
You have like
Mhm.
5 walls to bounce an idea off of rather than 2 back and forth.
So many points of reference. You know what I mean?
So if we
think I
take,
I
sorry,
think
go
I
ahead. Dave.
recall like the first like writing whatever, just the first time we kind of wrote together was a batch of Dan and Evan songs that we took up north.
Yeah,
So we
Chalet
kind
was
of
like
like
the
worked
starting point.
on those songs, and that was kind of like the first writing sessions. We
Yeah.
already had something to kind of like work with.
We had a bass, yeah. We
It
did.
was kind of like us 3 sort of walked into like a field of material and ideas that were already like in a Google Drive, and we just like hashed out a bunch of shit.
I remember when I came to the chalet, you guys were trying out a bunch of ideas. I
Mm-hmm.
remember I swung by, and you guys had the whole setup going on, and there was just all these bunch of ideas. Dave was kind of playing on something. What is? By the way, what is that? What's that called? That thing?
It's called the Cajon.
I was like, the
God,
box. I was gonna call it a box.
My
But
cajon.
I remember you guys were jamming, and I think there's quite a few tracks that actually like are gonna either be released or have been released from that session. I remember hearing some
Yeah.
stuff, so I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
which songs, but maybe
They're coming.
they're coming, right? I
Yeah.
heard a
Yeah.
few of them. That
Well, Daybreak was one, I think.
Daybreak was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we released that one.
Daybreak was there, so
Yeah.
was
Yeah. One More Night.
One More Night.
That
Face
one's
Down,
coming
which,
out.
Dan
Face
and I
Down.
worked on, and
Yeah, you
But we wrote we were just trying to adjust and cover the old stuff for the first 6 months of this band, and then we decided to use some old demos that we had in the mix and create whatever was to come after that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think Stefano, if you heard what those ideas, that you'd heard that weekend sound like now, well, I mean, you'll be hearing them soon, but yeah, I think you'll be pretty stoked on how they're sounding.
Well, the one that you guys mentioned was like Daybreak. Daybreak kind of just soared. Like I think you guys hit around 50,000 streams at this point now. So and it seems like it's growing pretty quickly in the last few months.
Mm-hmm.
How did that song? Let's say if we dive into that one, how did that song start and from where it was to where it is now? Like maybe talk about the evolution of how that song started.
Yeah, Evan sent us a demo. Evan basically.
That's a story.
Evan sent us a demo, and he's like, "Here's a song called Daybreak," and we're like,
Started
"I
with
like that
writing
song."
it and ended with us recording.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, there's still like the compared to whatever EP 1 and 2, let's say, like there's still sprinkles of influence where like Dan was like, "Yo, I'm gonna do a solo over that part," and I was like, "Yeah, please, like, let's hear it." And it's there. You know what I mean? It sounds fucking sick. Like that's in the song as you hear it now. So it's yeah, I don't know. It's some might not evolve as much. It's just like a straightforward, like this is what the demo sounded like, and then the final product doesn't deviate too much. And then there are others. One that's in the works comes to mind called Realize, where like we must have revisited the structure I don't know how many fucking times. And that's just because like when you jam it out as a band, it just, it's got to feel right when you're jamming it.
It took us
right?
2 years with that song to realize we needed a chorus.
Yeah.
Because that was the song that Evan and I were jamming on the first EP recording at the Freak Shop. That was the bass riff he was doing.
Right. It was a riff
Free shop jam.
that I kept on busting their chops about doing something with it. And like, guys, that riff at the Freak Shop, that riff at the Freak Shop.
It was
that
called
riff at the
AG Freak Shop idea because it was an idea that came up at the Freak Shop, and we never named it, and it was just a bass riff. And then one day Evan came out with the melody for the bass riff, and then with the riff itself, we knew we had to finish the song, but then we just didn't know where to go with it. We knew we needed something, and then eventually we bounced a bunch of chorus ideas, and now we've got what I think is probably one of my favorite tunes out of all the ones that we have.
Oh yeah. So there was Daybreak that came out. There's You Do that's doing really well right now, and Realize the next one that's coming out, or is that a bit further on?
that's a
Next
bit
one
further
is
down.
It Ain't Over. It's called It Ain't Over.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It Ain't Over, Face Down, Supersonic. We have the Supersonic One More Night, and I think at that point we're releasing Realize. Should I Feel and Realize?
So whoever listens to this podcast gets an exclusive look into the
Yeah,
every single title.
An
track.
exclusive
You know
listing
exactly
of the
what's going on.
entire album.
Exclusive.
So Daybreak was the first one. That seemed like it kind of picked up a lot of steam for you guys. It was getting played a lot locally here on Shom. So I know that there's been a lot of support from that radio station right now, which is super cool. How did that start, just the support from the local station, and then how it turned into You Do, which became, the song of the week, which was pretty cool. Like I remember hearing you guys, Rockman was talking about it. It was doing really well. So maybe we talk about how that relationship even with Shom started and how it's been helping you guys.
Well, Pierre Landry was the guy who got us in from the get-go. So that was a while ago. This was like, when were we
Last
talking
year?
about? Yeah.
Because they had played some stuff prior to,
Right, it was-
to
So
What was the
Daybreak.
first?
Devil in
was
a
it Devils?
It was
or-
Devil in a
Devil
Silk
in a
Dress.
Silk Dress, yeah.
And then it was Where Did You
That
Stay
was from
Last
the
Night?
EP1 or
Yeah.
EP2, right?
Yeah, we had reached out after we did the first EP, but since the songs had been out for a bit,
They wanted something fresh.
Pierre at Shom was like, we need something that's coming out, something fresh. And so then we had a second EP in the works, and then we sent them the entire EP, and they chose Devil in a Silk Dress and Where Did You Stay Last Night? Which is funny because Evan and I would laugh about that because Devil in a Silk Dress was a song that we were about to not make
Why?
because it was a song we strung together in Toronto.
Yeah.
Because he was like, we have an EP, we're just missing, I think, like a highway rock song.
Yeah.
So I wrote these.
I love you guys. Your definitions of songs: truck song, my
Yeah.
time,
Trucks.
highway. You guys are like truckers.
Didn't it make a like motor oil commercial?
No,
My
that
Time?
was my time. Yeah, my time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in any case, what happened with that was it was a song that I ended up jamming with you, Evan, in Toronto, and it didn't have the same groove it did now. It was just a very static, and it was like kind of gave me like a Queens of the Stone Age Medication vibe, very like rigid staccato. It's a devil in a silk dress. And I'm like, is that radio? Is that like a highway rock kind of
Back
vibe?
to
And
the
Evan's
highway.
like, I think so. Like, but let's think about the beat.
Is
And
in
then
the trucker came out.
then I heard a Jimi Hendrix track, and we decided to get a similar groove to a Jimi Hendrix song. And then the entire song came to be, and I still thought it was a joke because the lyrics that were written for it were, made up right then and there on the spot. And we were just joking around while we made up these lyrics about a devil in a silk dress, basically talking about hookers who are hooked on drugs.
Hookers.
You know, it's like
people.
let's make
The
a let's
song
make
is
a let's
about
Yeah, for sure.
hookers.
like let's make a highway rock song, and let's talk about the most typical highway rock
Hookers.
yeah, hookers who are
on
addicted to drugs, so sex and rock and roll.
Yeah.
We wrote these lyrics on the spot. I laughed about it. We recorded the song. I ended up saying, okay, it sounds like a highway rock song. I'm so used to always having songs that have like a meaning or like a story behind them, but in this case, I was kind of like, let me just go with the flow, just like I did with Dangerous Girl. And what ended up happening was they ended up putting it on Showm, and to this day I laugh because I was like, man, had I not listened to you and I just pushed me like, forget this song, no one would have known about it, and
Dude,
people are loving it.
It's a banger, so I'm not surprised.
It's always the same story. Like half the bands, and every time I'm listening to when Sean will do
Like
You're-
song, they wanted
they wanted to throw it out, and they didn't want to. They actually recorded the song in 10 minutes.
Now
it's
it's
all
number one.
Yeah, it changed like music completely.
Why that is, I don't know, man, but it is what it is.
My favorite story is that when we first met, a couple months later, it was summertime. It was July. We went to Dan's family's cottage, and Dan's like, "Hey, I just got a message from Evan. He sent a song. It's vocals, lyrics, and an acoustic guitar. It's called You Do." And that night, we're just getting to know each other, Dom, Dave, and everyone in the mix. And that night we jammed You Do, just jamming it as a band. And it was pouring rain, and there was thunder coming through the window. It was like just magical.
It's Trans-Cen-Dental.
It was fucking
Everyone
monumental.
was also wink wink vibing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
we
were
were
fungi,
like-
right? They were fungi.
We were
And,
all fun
yeah.
guys.
Okay.
And the best part about that was that Evan took it back home and he picked up on all the parts that we were all comfortable with, reorganized it, sent it back, and we had a song.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Well, that song,
It was
honestly,
fucking
guys,
magical.
to be honest, that I'd say for me personally, it's my favorite Astral Gates song. Like
Cool.
for me, just listening to that song, everything about it, from the riffs, the solo, Dom, you ripped that solo, by the way. The vocals, the video. That's maybe I want to touch on the video. The video
Yeah, that
was
was
awesome.
cool.
So, who thought of the concept? Where was this? I think it was filmed at your pad.
Yeah, it was
Am I-
at my studio. Yeah.
So there was a bunch of stuff. Maybe I'd love to dive into the video. The video, just the concept, the
So-
making of it, how that started. Who thought of the idea? Like just the record. I think Dave, your girlfriend was involved too.
Yeah.
So a bunch of stuff. Like I'd love to just get to know a little more about that story.
So we all wanted like a little bit of a grungy feel, and Dave was like asking about really
Dave was basically like,
dirty
guys, I
bathrooms.
got it.
Need a
Bathroom.
dirty
thought of
bath.
Dom's
Everything
pads.
in the bathroom.
Only good things happen in the
And
bathroom.
he's like, where's the dirtiest, grimiest, disgusting bathroom we could find? And I was like, I mean, I
GG's.
hate to say it, but like my pad's pretty gross. So we could probably use it. And it's been since renovated, so now
Yeah.
that's like immortalized.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
video.
Oh yeah.
Since then,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that video is like a moment in time right
It's
now.
captured. Man.
I actually mentioned your bathroom of your pad
Yeah,
for how
yeah.
shitty it is. How
Yeah.
shitty it was.
It's just so old and like outdated
Yeah.
and grimy. It was perfect.
It was
honestly.
perfect.
Yeah.
But
I was trying to recreate. The idea was, well, it's grunge. It's kind of grunge vibe. So I was thinking about grunge aesthetic, but I was thinking about, okay, we're a band. We're gonna do a video where bands basically fucking like or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
I was thinking back to one of my band's first rehearsal spaces, which was one of the grimiest, dirtiest rehearsal spaces in town. And the bathroom was like, once you go to the bathroom in that bathroom, you're like, you
Yeah.
can basically go into.
You can
You're
survive
immune.
anything.
You can
Forever.
survive anything.
Yeah, you're a
You're
horse,
immune.
basically.
The idea was, let's
You
recreate.
belong in a
I want to
stable.
recreate that kind of vibe where it's like this is the natural stomping grounds of a band,
Yeah.
and Dom is still there basically.
Yeah, but no, it just doesn't look like
It
a
doesn't have that same vibe anymore.
70s heroin bathroom.
Yeah, smelled like shit, but it got the job done.
Well, I remember even with the pad that we were at for a long time there on P9. That was an interesting pad where we had to steal electricity at one point.
We
It
were
was
squatting for
Yeah.
3 years. 3 years until the owner figured
Yeah.
out we're squatting. in the pad.
all of a sudden you just saw this long extension wire that went underneath. And
Every
literally,
night, every
we
time
had a
Someone's
whole
siphoning
band.
my hydro.
We had a whole band at one point, literally on one power plug, and it was underneath
hallway.
in a hallway plug. Literally, everything was going out of there. And then when he started showing up a little more often, we would call Dave, and Dave, we would literally give him the plugs, through the window, and we would plug it into his pad.
I
and just
wasn't
plug it.
squatting. I legit.
Yeah, he was actually paying his rent.
We would jump out onto the roof and run an extension cord through the window.
That's when we met you, Dave.
Wow.
Yeah.
2005,
That's right.
2006.
I remember,
Amazing.
like Dave. It's been a long time. Like even from the E-Town Melody days where he was working there, and kind of walk in, say hi. He was in the drum section all the time. Like to me, Dave was the drum section. And then I remember one night smoking a J and just walking in this park, and we wanted to look for someone to record this EP at the time for our band.
Yeah.
And it was
You
like,
mentioned
okay,
Dave.
yeah. And I was like, look, I heard this guy Dave, like he does some shit. Let me give him a call. I remember just being completely ripped, and I was like, hey, Dave, what's up, man? What's going on? And then that started with like, now who would have thought that meeting Dave, and then from Dave, Dan, this whole thing ended up happening. JJ, like all these kind of like people for me personally, from all these different stories and on my background. And kind of seeing it all together, it's pretty cool to see you guys kind of like that vibe working.
What actually solidified this vibe is the day before the You Do story with the thunder and all that stuff at the cottage. We listened to Santana for like 6 hours straight
Yeah,
Yeah.
was a fun
outside in
guy
the
involved
pinning
in
hot
there?
sun.
Yes.
yeah,
Very.
That was extra fun.
No one to depend on repeat.
the whole song on repeat.
Jesus. Yeah.
It was
Well,
good.
That was great.
Well, I remember that you guys, when I got there, I tripped out a bit with you guys, but I didn't go down the same road like you guys went down.
That was the first chalet,
That was-
right?
okay.
That was like numero uno.
Oh, that was the first. Was that the one
Yeah.
at Jay's?
No, it was
No,
at
Okay.
my
Dan's-
parents'
Dan's-
cottage.
Dan's
Oh
old
yes,
parents.
I remember
Yeah.
that one.
Because you were there too, right?
I was there
Further?
too.
Yeah, I got some
stalking you guys.
wicked shrooms, and that
You were
fucked
there,
us
son?
up
Yeah.
big time for like an
Not the
entire
first
6
one in Rio.
hours.
That was the one where we ended up going for a walk at one
No,
point.
that
Yeah,
was in
no,
the
no.
fall. We were there
No, no, we
like
went.
3 months before in the summer. It was just us four.
I don't remember. Well, I know that there was one time that I came to
Yeah.
to
At
your
night,
place,
yeah.
and then there was no
Stefano
walk.
came with us. We took a walk up in the
In
hill.
the
Yes.
fall, though. In the
and we
fall.
took some photos.
We took
on
a
the
few.
mountain.
Yeah, we took a few
Yeah, I
trips
remember
up
that.
there.
It was so
It was-
dramatic. Those photos, some of them.
Yeah.
Cool. So if we get back to You Do, because like I was saying, that one I'd say is one of my favorite tracks.
Mm.
How did the video definitely like captured the song? Like it feels like it's really connected well. What's been the reaction from people, for the video and from the song? Because it was doing well, like for on Show'em, it's been playing a lot. What's been the reaction for that song?
Pretty positive, man.
Yeah, people seem to dig it. I mean, a lot of people like the feedback about the video. Like the video fits the song, Nowadays, you definitely need visual when you release a track. So if the visual lines up with the song, even better. But sometimes if it doesn't, that's cool
Mm.
too. But in this one, we really did a great job, I think. So hats off to Dave, who had a great idea, and to Vanessa,
That was
Yeah.
epic.
who
How
came
did
in
that
and
happen?
produced it.
Vanessa's been doing videos because I know she did makeup.
My girlfriend is a creative person. She does makeup, and she's always sort of like on sets, photo sets, commercials, productions, that type of thing. So we were gonna DIY the video. So we're always kind of looking at who's in the periphery, who can we squeeze like a favor out of, who can we squeeze a big favor out of. And I said, baby, would you be interested in doing this? And she was kind of like, yes, she was interested, but she couldn't say no. You know what I mean? Because I asked. Once you asked, it's like you can't say no.
You can say no to me.
So she was down. I mean, her ideas and her energy was like instrumental to the thing being good. Because I mean, the four of us,
She
it's
had
like,
a
we could
vision,
do
you
something,
know?
but it just would not have been anywhere near as well executed.
Yeah, she was.
we needed the
she was really
fifth
good.
person to like produce it.
She was a
It's
It's
like
like
natural.
a
different
wrangler,
perspective.
basically. You know what I
Especially
mean?
when it's DIY, like you need like some sort of plan or structure if you're gonna not wing it, but like we had some equipment, but like everything was shot with like an iPhone and a gimbal. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
With like some strobe.
Like it was
yeah.
DIY in the bathroom, man.
iPhone, gimbal, smoke machine, and strobe lights.
And a lot of
Yeah.
markers.
I don't
Yeah, and we vandalized. We like fake vandalized my pad bathroom for like
made it even uglier.
an hour and a half, like
Yeah.
right before. I was like copying like graffiti. Like I googled like some graffiti things and like copying it, and then then Dan like walks in with his big jacket and just like rubs up against it because it's dry erase. Just
No.
fucking completely destroyed like 20 minutes of work.
So
My
they had
AC
to
like
start-
my octopus,
They had
bro.
to start fucking drawing everything.
Destroyed my octopus, man. It was so
and all
sad.
and all that was shot in one day.
One evening.
Yeah.
When
Oh
he-
yeah.
Yeah.
About like 6 hours, 4, 5, 6
Yeah.
It was a bit of prep, but I mean, we shot in like 2-3 hours. She came in and took on the role of director.
Mm.
Like really like took the situation by the fucking balls, and you know we were drinking, so it was like she was losing us by like the
Every
fucking-
hour.
by the minute, you know. But she directed
Sure.
and she called the shots and was like, do this, do that, look like this.
But you guys
fucking-
had like sort of sent like we had like a pre-made sort of
No,
storyboard
Yeah, like a briefing
of like
even.
shots, like
I mean,
inspirations and
you can have a plan and then put alcohol into the mix, and what's
Yeah.
the plan? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's
we
it
get by.
becomes very distant, the plan.
But she was great. Got done really quick. 3 hours we were out.
So who
And,
thought
yeah,
of the concept exactly?
well,
Mostly
Dave.
Was
I
it
mean, I
like
say I
that?
thought of the
Yeah, yeah.
concept, but I mean the concept was
It sorta
written. It was
evolved, right?
written in the clouds,
Yeah.
or written in the sky, or written in the fucking whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
It's like the song has that grunge kind of
Yeah,
feel.
it
So
was
it's like
evident.
we
It
were all
was a
talking
good
about
call.
grunge aesthetic, grunge inspiration, grunge vibe, and just the idea. I just mated it with like, okay, maybe we're not a grunge band, but if we were a grunge band, what would it look like?
Yeah.
It would look
It
like
helped
a fucking
that, like-
grimy, disgusting bathroom. You know,
You know,
what I mean?
because like when you're doing like photo shoots or video shoots, like you need a location, or else it's like you're gonna be just working with random stuff, right? But since he came up with the grungy bathroom, but previously I was like, guys, for you do like it would be super sick to have like band shots of like dark, sort of like intense close-ups, maybe fisheye type
Yeah.
thing. You know what I mean? We had a couple references, like YouTube links bouncing around. And so we were in my pad and we had the bathroom. And I was like, guys, like, because my pad is also a part of like this huge battery warehouse.
Okay.
So like just on the side of the door, it's like boom, you will go in and you're into the warehouse with like a bunch of like racks of like industrial forklifts and all that shit. And I was like, why don't we just set up right here and just we mix shots of the bathroom
Yeah.
with the the grungy dark background, like very industrious sort of feeling, and it really worked. And even the the editing, which was done by
Alex Colomb.
great editing and coloring and all the
she did a great job.
the finesse and the cutting, I was blown away. You know what I mean? And just those two scenes combined really just stitched together a video that I think like we had envisioned, and it aligned a lot with our vision.
Came to life.
But I feel like we really didn't expect it to be that good.
I can't wait to shoot a video
mean?
in the desert.
Yeah.
Paint my whole
Location just went next level.
and paint my whole naked body
Do it
gold.
yourself concept is out the window.
shot November Rain, bro.
No, like more like give it away style. You know?
But it's pretty cool because I do feel like that video and the song match up well. Sometimes you kind of get videos and songs that they fit, and there's a concept, you could see it, but that one really kind of encompassed the whole feel, exactly what you're saying. And I know for me personally, like watching it, I remember when I saw it, I was like, wow. I kind of forgot that it was a bunch of friends of mine and everything. I just literally said, if this was guys that I had no clue who they were, I would still love this video and I would still love the song. Like it has such a good vibe. And I think one thing that I also found that was cool that you guys did with that, or I know you've done even with some other tracks, is like, Evan, I saw you do like these production tips on IG.
Right.
And you brought that song out to kind of even show people like the idea of how you kind of thought of it, and and just maybe the different types of chords to play. What's like obviously, there's the idea of kind of sharing content and doing all that stuff, but what was kind of maybe the thought process behind even these production tips that you guys keep on going in, which I think is pretty cool. It's different from a lot of bands. So who started that idea of the production tips, and how you seeing the reactions too from the people?
Well, it all
It
started.
was Dan's idea, to be honest. Dan was the one who had floated that, just being like, we were trying to come up with ideas for content for socials and stuff. I feel like every band is kind of in that predicament these days because just visibility, that kind of thing. You have to put yourself out there. And we were just brainstorming ideas. What can we post? And yeah, Dan mentioned, like, actually, we spend so much friggin' time making the music. Like, why don't we post about that? And yeah, that kind of sparked that idea. And I was like, it's something I can do from here. I got my laptop open. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty easy to put together. And I mean, it's work that's already been done, right? Like, you've recorded the songs. So, like, why not show that off? I read something actually today, even. I mean, I wasn't thinking about it this deep, but somebody was saying how, like, with AI generated art and, like, so much content coming out every day, the way to sort of differentiate yourself is to, like, bring your fans into your world. And, like, if you're spending that much of your day working on production and, like, making the music, then, like, let them in on that, show them how that's done. And, if we can help somebody along the way make their own music, that kind of thing, that'd be pretty fucking cool too. So, yeah, that was kind of the
I
idea.
think every fan, I guess, like, loves the perspective of, like, the fly on the wall inside the studio, inside where the magic happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And yeah, the production stuff is cool because even, like, just in our band, it's like Dave is a producer, audio engineer, so am I, so is Evan, so, like, we're all, like, in that realm too, and to sort of leverage that in the band has been another big, like, strong point in keeping everything sort of rolling and, like, distributing, like, not tasks, but you know what I mean, like, everyone can sort of pull their weight in their own respective ways, and it's just like
More of that DIY.
a DIY
Yeah.
thing, but, like, the train is
Exactly.
fucking moving because everyone's moving it. You know what I mean?
Well, everyone here has pretty much a home studio set up.
Yeah, we
Or
all
at
got
least
our
a
own
real-
little
like
Before-
we're actually
before-
shooting at
Yeah.
the Freak Shop right now, which is
Yeah.
Dave's studio, right? So we're doing this here. Dan, I know you have your setup at home. Evan, I
Yeah.
know you have a whole thing going on in your
Mine
place
is
in
set
Toronto.
up. It's collecting spiderwebs, but it's set up. One day I'll get to it.
Dom is too. I've seen the videos. You guys are doing all this work, which kind of makes it cool because there's so much remote work that could also
Yeah.
be done. That it doesn't always necessarily have to be in this one location. We need to record. We need to do
No,
everything
no.
here. For Evan being in Toronto, like, I can only imagine how annoying that would be to always have to be in Montreal to come
No,
and do
yeah.
a session. You know what I mean? When all this stuff could be done remotely.
But so many of his remote tracks are in the final recordings of the album. Like Daybreak, the guitars, like, everything was like, we had them. It was like, boom, we could just, like, track drums and, like, bass and, like, mix this thing. You know what I mean?
A lot of what we've been doing has been the same formula since the get-go. So
Yep.
EP1, EP2 is like us both producing tracks from our bedroom. So I'd send him guitars, I'd send him vocals. Fire, the track you hear today on Spotify, is the same stems that came from my demo that I sent to Evan. Evan cleans them up, does some timing fixes, whatever he
Yeah,
needs to
I saw
do.
his timing fixes. You put that on.
Yeah.
on the. He looks absolutely insane. There's literally every second is its own little block.
So now,
it's absolutely insane. And you're the one that mentioned that to me
Yeah.
the last time
Sliced them,
when we were at your place, and I said, "Holy shit!" I looked at the video. I said, "This guy is fucking insane."
there's a lot.
This is
There's a
crazy.
lot of
Can
work,
confirm, certifiably insane. My doctor said so. No.
But it's also like working with Evan has all like when I almost 10 years ago when I started focusing solely on songwriting. A few years later, I met Evan, and it was through Evan that I learned how to produce because I wasn't even using sound cards before that. So within a very short amount of time, with his guidance, even virtually, I was learning to produce. Next thing I know, I'm producing albums in my bedroom, EP1 and EP2. And now we're more people in the band, and we all are producers in our own right. Some of us are more on audio engineering, some of us are more on the songwriting, but everyone has an ability to produce their tracks.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the virtual setup that Evan and I had, just organically by virtue of the fact that Dave brought people into the band, unknowing how they play, not even knowing how they play, in this case, and probably not even knowing how much of an engineer of sound he is. So it's like it just adds. It's a benefit, right?
I wish we just captured that moment right now from them.
It's a benefit. It's a benefit having people who know how to do all these things. So it makes your life easier as well.
But
So
the pieces seem to fit, and like the roles seem to work too. Because I mean, Evan, you're saying it's like he's all the way out in Toronto. Is that a problem? Is it not a problem? It's not a problem.
Yeah.
I don't think Evan wants to play in a band. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love because I can see his face.
But,
He's like,
when
what?
I say play, I mean like rehearse and like fucking show up and do what bands do. And he's like
He's
you're
the
stu-
fifth
you're
Beatle.
studio rat,
He's the fifth
basically. You
Beatle.
know what I mean?
Clarence.
He's George Martin.
He's
Look
yeah.
at him.
So it's like the roles fit. You know what I mean? But it's like there isn't a rehearsal or a gathering or a get together where we don't say to ourselves like, well, we don't consider Evan, even though he's not in the room. It's like he's in every conversation, in every decision that the four of us make while he's away. It's like he's always there. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Is do you ever feel like that disconnect, or you don't feel that disconnect at all, knowing that there's this whole thing happening and you're out there in Toronto?
Honestly, I was just gonna say that like after Dave was speaking and like you nailed it, Stefano. I don't honestly. I shout out to the guys for keeping me in the loop and feeling included. I'm like very grateful for that. Because we actually, I think to our credit as a band, we have a lot of communication. Like we're in constant communication. I think that's one of the things that we do really well. I think that's the downfall for a lot of groups. Even when they're all in the same city, they don't communicate enough, or weeks, months go by and nothing gets done. That's not the case for Astral Gates. The train is always moving, and very grateful for the guys for like keeping me in the loop, making sure that we all stay on the train and don't fall off.
Well, I think that's what makes us also unique, right? It's kind of like the 2023 way of being in a band. In one sense, it's you can all communicate. It doesn't always have to be together in the same room. I think it's kind of a cool way of thinking about it, that the disconnect is actually what keeps it a bit connected.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty interesting that this is the vibe, and it seems to be kind of getting bigger and better. And you're seeing a lot of things coming. Like you guys' shows are coming up, certain shows maybe we'll talk about later on. But, there was also some gigs that you guys did in Quebec City now, Sherbrooke. Live shows are starting to kind of come, your way, and people are starting to reach out to you guys. How has that kind of changed also the dynamic of the band now, going from this studio kind of band producing a lot of music to actually taking that music now and bringing it on the road? Has that been a bit difficult?
I wouldn't say difficult. Just another layer, because you're factoring in now prepping for shows, but the writing and production is just, it's constant, so if there's no shows, you just over-index on the writing and the production. When there's shows, you focus on the shows, but we have so many songs in the pipeline. And even before Astral Gates, I think I was looking through my Google Drive on my own personal account, folders of songs, or like 670 song ideas since I was 25 years old. You know what I mean? So, and Evan, I'm sure too, in that hard drive, maybe that's your fourth hard drive now that you're on because you've matched it out. But like there's so much material because we're avid writers. We just like to write. So there's always, production is constant. Now we have a band and we're all good buddies too, and we work together. So things, we collaborate and great things can come of it. But we're also more people, so we have an opportunity to also now do more shit together, play the shows. We're running social media very organized now, because everyone has their day and everyone posts different stuff, and he's mixing and then he's doing some stuff engineering, so is him. I'm doing my stuff on my end, production. We're writing songs, we're jamming. JJ and I are coming up with song ideas, and all three of us, sometimes four, he'll pop in, throw in a song, so everyone's kind of, you know what I mean, pulling weight in different ways. So that's what makes it interesting, because if it's just one person, then you have to think about all these tentacles, and time is of essence too, right? So having a group of guys who communicate and everyone picks up slack somewhere, the ball has naturally been rolling forward, just because of the virtue of the fact that everyone is engaged with the mission of just putting out music and trying to cover all the bases.
Cracks the whip harder than anyone you've ever fucking.
You're 5 minutes
your
late.
Life. Organized communication, it's all done. Dan,
Well,
it really is the.
You didn't update the Excel sheet.
Well, I remember when Dan, was talking about putting now people a little, kind of growing this project. And I think he had mentioned that then, I don't know if you want to go a little deeper on that, Dan, but it was about making it organic, making things go the way they need to go and not also forcing it. Like if somebody doesn't show up, that's cool. Like, maybe this is not the right project, but everyone kind of seemed to find their way into this project. So how did that go? Like from the, hey, just putting it out there, getting some people involved, and now seeing that everyone seems relatively committed to this project too. It seems like everyone has some sort of commitment to this project, at least.
Sure.
So how did that change from, a bunch of guys just getting together to kind of bringing it now into this project where you're seeing things kind of turn into something?
I think it's the evolution of how the project came to be, right? Because it started off as, okay, we're jamming, we'll play some covers, and then I've got original songs that we'll play together. And then that was working for a while, and then Evan and I had some conversations on the side and being like, well, what if we could turn this into like an organic company of people who are involved in a mission. So like everyone's a shareholder now in the Astral Gates mission, right? So even though you have like the founding forefathers now have grown and we have a board of directors, and I look at it like a corporation. That's why these guys are saying, oh, you're so fucking intense.
So fucking Gene Simmons over
Because because they're like, oh, you corporate, man.
corporation.
Look,
okay.
we've got Excel spreadsheets, we've got plans, we got, but it works.
Well, everyone's
That's it.
working on multiple projects too, right? So like Dave, obviously you have your project Damn Truth.
Yeah, that was another thing. Is like, me and Dave were already in bands before this project started, right? So we sort of have to do that double time, and like I think at the beginning we were like sort of, just jamming, testing it out, seeing, having fun, and seeing like the seriousness level like grow, and at a certain point you're like, okay, like I'm like super down, like we're gonna find the time. It's a lot of like time management, especially being in like two serious bands that also like your other band wants to keep the ball rolling too, right? So there is like that level of commitment when you have other engagements, like even just being an audio engineer, like mixing like songs for other like there's a lot of time and management involved. So splitting the tasks up, really like being 5 guys to sort of like distribute that weight, like was a major like relief factor, and like everyone sort of feeling comfortable in their roles.
You gotta be organized. Key. You know what I mean?
He said that like a dad.
No, it's just so like we'll go back on the point of multiple projects. They came in with multiple bands, right? I'm in multiple writing projects. He's in multiple writing projects. There's a lot of writing happening. When you're in a band, you have to add in the fact that now you're jamming. There's time that you need to do that. So you need to come prepared. So there's preparation. So it's added weight the more you have to do. And as a band progresses, band gets busier, you need more time to make it successful. So I see it as simple as this. If the songs are good and the band's having a good time, there's no limitation to what you could accomplish. But it's still a very difficult industry to make it in. So in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking to myself, well, how am I growing out of this experience, right? What am I learning? So, and I hope every single guy in this band, in the end of the day, gets something from Astral Gates that makes them independently from Astral Gates a better musician, or else what was the point of doing it if you couldn't grow from it, right? So that's how I see it. And as long as that's the case for me, and I'm stimulated in that way, it's a win. And if other people are stimulated in this project in that way, it's a win.
So stimulated.
Stay stimulated.
That was sexy and creepy all at the same time.
Gates
Stay stimulated.
Well, it's funny because I feel like people don't associate like efficiency with rock and roll. Like
You guys are the
So
great
how
essential,
unrock
like,
and roll.
yeah, you guys are the complete opposite of what you always hear about.
We
Right?
strategize.
You guys actually have a plan, and you stick to a plan, but you also kind of communicate one. That's
Those days are over, Steph.
It's the rock and roll of
The rock and roll,
2023, man.
bro, the
Why you
rock
look at
and
me like
roll
those
of
days are over.
the rock and roll of yesterday, where it's just disorganized chaos, doesn't work, man. The industry's different. You have to think like a businessman.
All of that is a charade.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, it's an act.
Sure,
If
rock-
you're not
rock
organized on
stars in
anything.
the world are not, they might spiral into degenerates, but I mean, it's like it's big business and big responsibilities at all levels. You know what I mean? Especially for successful bands. So
Hell yeah, man. Did you know Mick
It's,
Jagger on tour Did you know that he's sitting in boardrooms with the exec team going over all of their designs for the new merchandise, for how they're going to have the stage layout, for the production of every song every second? Keith Richards is in the back, you know, like listening to Muddy Waters and ripping a cigarette, but the lead of that band is doing his job, and he's the entrepreneur. You need, since day one, my mindset
You're
has
that
always
guy.
been like treat it like a business. You know what I mean?
Well, I remember like a long time ago when you had made the decision to transition, kind of going from that corporate world into, you kind of said, this is not for me. I don't want to do this. And then you made that leap into music, and I want to learn how to be a better songwriter, all that stuff that was going on. That whole transition for you, how was it to kind of take that idea of, where you were from a corporate world, going to this artistic world, and then trying to marry those two worlds of creating that organization? Like, how difficult was that for you at the beginning? To keep yourself organized, to keep yourself stimulated, knowing that, it's kind of starting from scratch almost.
It wasn't even a thought. Like, there's no thought, you know what I mean? It's like you wake up in the morning and like, I need to write a song every single day. I need to get better. I need to go take courses. I enrolled
Practice the
myself.
muscle, man.
Yeah, man. It's just every single day, 9 to 5, 9 to 9, until I learned how to write songs well. Because it was just like writing songs, but like knowing what you want, how to write structure a song in a way that, taking the courses, just delving into it, reading about it, and then meeting Evan. And then Evan was really the reason why I went down the band route, because I was not even looking at band route. I was just like songs, placements, synchronization, TV shows, commercials, jingles, you name it, writing for other artists. I just wanted to write.
Mm-hmm.
Then he heard Cold Sweat and was like, no, dude, you have to do a band. Like, you got to play more guitar. You got to go play live.
You got to put that out.
You got to go and show people what you're doing here. You can't just write and give it away. So I never thought like the corporate mindset of just being structured was solely towards the songwriting business that I was trying to push, which I still am. But now it's like, now with a band, it's just natural to be like, okay, well, let's just be diligent and focused and organized here. And if I can get forward in that way with writing, I can do it with the band. And it's been working. Everyone's been pulling their weight, but it takes a communal effort. You have to pull your weight. You can put a plan together, but if no one shows up, if no one looks at the grid, there's no point. So the good thing is as much as, we can be buffoons 90% of the time, when it really matters. Yeah, when we're done partying and listening to Santana for 6 hours, we get down to work, we look at the spreadsheet, and we execute, and that's what matters.
That's all to say. Hire us for your corporate gigs.
Yeah, exactly.
Bar mitzvahs.
Yeah.
Everything. Sweet 16s.
So,
That's too much.
guys, the story's been awesome.
We're gonna edit that
But
one
there's also now like what's coming up. What's coming up? There's a bunch of stuff coming up. I know for you guys, it seems like there's singles coming out every few weeks. So I know you mentioned some. What's the next one that, let's say, for that April, May, let's say period? What's the plan? Let's say for that time frame for you guys. What's coming up?
2 more songs.
Two more
That's it.
songs,
That-
man.
that-
There's 2 more songs. We have music basically scheduled to release every 6 weeks for hopefully infinity, basically. You know what I mean?
He said April, May, so I was saying 2 more songs because of his April,
Yeah.
May.
But I mean the kind of like the road to the top in a sense, whether it's songwriting or as a band and all this stuff. It's like it's all based in the song. You know what I mean? So the main priority for this band is to just pump out music and continue to get better with the music and write the better song. And eventually, like the big song's gonna come. you
Well,
know?
it seems like what I think that's pretty cool about this is that it's this idea of some sort of system you guys are creating where it's like Dave was saying, it's about pumping out just more music, and that muscle's just going to get stronger. The connection within the band, the communication's going to get better, the songwriting will increase, just get tighter. And
Yeah.
is there something that you guys have as a vision of where you would like this to see, or is it really just about the journey and where this journey just goes with every song?
I'd say it's journey. I mean, obviously you dream as a kid making a living playing music and all this stuff, but sometimes you can get so caught up in that dream that you forget why you're actually doing it in the first place. Write the best songs you can. So for us, it's, at least that's the way I've seen it. But from my discussions with everybody, it seems like everyone's pretty much on the same page. It's like mining for the best songs that you can make and then being proud of putting them out and then playing them live and having the fucking time of your life. That's pretty much why we do it. It's when you look at how hard it is to make it in music, you would think at our age we'd all throw in the fucking towel by now. You know what I mean? But we're not. We're
We're
doing
just getting started.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're in your prime until you're gone off this earth, because it's what keeps you young is the music. It's what keeps you energetic. So for me, it's always been that. It's do your best possible work and grow and become the best you can be.
And keeping an open mind to different varieties of music. I grew up with listening and loving bands that touch all kinds of different styles, like the Stones.
Mhm.
You know, they'll play a disco song, they'll play a freaking, I don't know, man, Afrobeat, rock and roll, whatever you. That for me is well-rounded band.
The variety.
It's kind of funny because when we started the band, we had very lengthy discussions about like the vision and the direction of this band and the music, and we had very narrow and stringent kind of like ideas about what the sound of this band was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, gradually over time, it's like it's widening and it's kind of opening up, and songs are, great songs are being written, and we're kind of giving them a chance within that narrow, quote unquote, framework that we established. But it's like it's no longer narrow. It's starting to widen and open up. So it's like exploration is happening, but it's the exploration is only coming because some cool songs, which are being born.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a lot of like sort of notions that, like, as a listener, you want like a band that you like to sort of stay within the constraints of like their sound. Like this sound, like their sound is why I listen to their music, right? But you, on the other side, as an artist, you're just, you can write specifically for a goal and a vibe, but it's like when you're feeling a bit bluesy, you're going to write something bluesy. When you're feeling heavy, you might write something heavier, you know what I mean? Like one of the songs that we have coming out, not the next one, but the one after that, is going to take quite a lot of people by surprise, I think, especially after a song like You Do, where it's just like, for me personally, like when you were saying what were the reactions to You Do, well, a lot of the people I spoke with were like, man, compared to the earlier stuff, like this shit is like slapping, heavy, hard, like grungy. It's like, whoa, like what happened?
Where
You know
did
what I mean?
this
It's
come
crazy.
from?
It's
Yeah.
awesome. And a lot of people said that about us live, where like a lot of my friends would come, and like that sort of ties in with how we had to transfer over like the sort of production-ish vibes of the first batch of songs into, okay, now we're this live band, we're this live entity. Well, a lot of the little production things, like, you can't really replicate perfectly live. So who's going to cover what? Who's playing that note? Who's playing, you know what I mean? So that sort of made the early music heavier live. And a lot of the people in the comments, I'm sure we all got, were like, whoa, no one expected that. Like, the song's there, it's the same song, but it just, like, slaps you in the face, like, 5 times harder.
It's true.
You know what I mean? So there's also that, which I really like. And, like, going back to what we were saying, is, like, us as artists, we don't want to sort of limit yourself to, if you're feeling a certain way and you a certain song pumps out, you know, like Dave was saying, give it a chance. Like, how can we make this ballady song work within the Astral Gates realm, the Astral Gates, like, sound and context, where, like, it's still a different genre, but, like, there's still the little signature sounds of everyone imprinted in the song, and it's, you're like, wow, okay, this, I see what's happening here.
Elaborate on that, Dom?
Sure, go ahead.
So
Be my guest.
What's really
Lauren
come on down. What's actually really fun about that is that when you get all these different songs and different moods and different vibes and whatever's going on, is that when you're tailoring it to put it together as a collection, you're uniforming it, and you're picking out the songs that can go in that collection, whether it be in 5-song EP, 7-song LP, or whatever, 8-song LP. What's fun is just pulling them out and saying, okay, like, these 8 songs give us that specific mood, and the next 5 will give us that specific mood, and then the 5 after that is whatever the fuck kind of mood will be in then. That's what's fun, and everyone's open-minded about it.
Can I elaborate on that?
Come on down. Dun, dun, dun.
I'd like to elaborate on that. And to his point, for a while, Evan was on calls with us too, and we were like trying to pick direction for like the album, and we were all kind of like, okay, but what is the Astral Gates sound? And
Yeah.
I had never asked that question so much, and Evan and I, we had ideas like, okay, this EP is going to be like blues rock. It's going to be these types of references.
Trucker.
But don't forget,
Highway.
like our first jam was to write a truck commercial. So we were planning.
Hold on. We just the fact that idea was. Our first jam was to write a truck commercial, so I never would have thought.
First of
anybody
all,
would ever say something
buddy,
like that.
we did, and it sounds amazing.
It sounds fucking. I love my time.
They
need
actually
to
did.
post that
They
and
actually
show
did
I'm
a
going
truck
to.
commercial.
I'm actually going to find it this weekend, and I'm going to post it on Monday on social media.
Yeah, I've still got it.
You
man.
still
I
got
gotta
it? Can
pick
you
up.
send it over?
Yo, what
When you get a
country?
I will.
You have to post it.
Yeah.
What country did it air in?
What?
Wasn't there like a? This is the truck one or the
No,
motorcycle?
no,
one?
motorcycle happened and it was aired in
Dude.
India. But I'm talking about the truck commercial song that we never actually released, but we wrote it in one night, and it was like 20 minutes of guitar solos. But the first 4 or 5 minutes was like so Ford pickup truck in a forest coming down a swamp, like it was perfect. And so our goal,
it was all about the 4-wheel drive.
the goal was to always write a variety of different music. But when the band started happening, we started pushing ourselves to be like, okay, let's define the sound of the band. We had the name Astral Gates going, and eventually it's like now we're all starting to kind of realize that like when you go out through the gates of the Astral Gates and you go out into the cosmos.
The gates of the
gates.
Astral
Yeah,
Astral
man.
Gates.
You never know. You really never know what you're going to get. So in my mind, it's like there's some beauty into keeping people on their toes by doing stuff different, just the way Rolling Stones did it, the Beatles did it. There was even an album that Ed Sheeran did not long ago where he had songs with Bruno Mars, Chris Stapleton. He did songs with rappers in the UK, and he did songs with Rihanna. And there was rock, there was pop, there was R&B, there was rap. There was everything on one album.
Guns N' Roses kind of gives me that vibe too. They're not scared to like touch.
No,
Well,
so
just going on your.
If I can elaborate.
we've just decided to not
Come on down.
not
I'm the host
you
now.
know not to step back and just step forward with every song idea that we feel could be something.
Well, I think it's also, just based on how we consume music too is different. Where before you would buy that album, right? So you bought this album and you heard like 10 songs from the same artist, and you kind of wanted to hear that consistency. And then you bought maybe a mix album, to kind of get all those different tracks. To get the variations. And now with the playlists, personally, I have a hard time listening to a whole album if it literally sounds like the same song or the same feel 8 times in a
It's
row.
got to take you through
I
a
don't-
ride.
For me
man.
personally,
I
I
don't, but-
can't.
but-
The
but I'm-
playlists of all the randomness at times
But that's
is what I love almost about music. It brings me through the different
see-
feelings throughout the day,
But see, what kind of randomness are you getting in an album? Let's say like Acting Baby album.
Let's see, like it's
Yeah.
different for classics.
Yeah,
back
that-
in the past, it's like
Yeah.
for new bands.
Yeah.
I find it harder for fans or like new listeners to really give an entire album a shot
Yeah.
and
yeah,
be like
yeah.
by like song
See, I'm-
1 to 30 seconds in, if you're not hooked, like they're
I
not listening
become-
to your album.
Yeah, like
You
I'm the type of person that I sort of become obsessed with curating and making sure that it just makes sense.
You're
That
definitely
there's
the
a story,
curator.
there's a collection, there's a uniform, there's a tuxedo on these batch of songs.
Yeah.
And but that's because I grew up listening to U2, Aerosmith, Bon Jovi, that just had these records that were
Epic records, yeah.
sonically
They're aesthetically pleasing.
aligned.
And I think that's why I find like those times when you hear them, you're like, it makes sense. And I just find now, for me personally, I'm just talking about the way
Yeah,
I
no.
consume. I like hearing this song, and then all of a sudden this other random song, and then it comes on, and then there's this metal feel that just comes out of nowhere in the playlist, and I'm like, how the fuck did this show up on my playlist? The randomness. So the fact that you guys are kind of going down that route of just release and just let the song do what it needs to do is kind of, it makes sense with the times we're also in at this point and the way we're consuming. So it's funny how you guys are kind of also aligned with the way the end listener is really looking for, as kind
But
of
it's
to
still,
consume.
It's still sort of thought out on our part. It's not like a song dump. We're not just
Oh, no. Like you hear consistency
yeah,
about the band,
right.
but different tones to every song. Like it feels like a different ambiance, but you hear that it's Astral Gates.
It's
I
all
think
about
there's
evoking emotion in the
Yeah.
end,
Yeah.
right? It's like if your song
think-
can make someone feel something, you did a good job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Whether it's like a happy feeling or a fucking even like a cringy feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you evoked emotion.
my
in
mother
another
heard
individual.
my mother heard You Do for the first time.
She's like, oh my god.
Did you watch the
man."
video?
She was like, "Wow, this song is really intense."
She sees the video. She's like, Dan, did you
She's
have a
just-
problem?
Mothers
She's
against
just
rock and
like
roll.
she was like it's an
Mothers
intense.
against rock and roll.
It evoked an intense emotion.
Is
know
that
what
how
I
you
mean?
look at yourself in the mirror?
Yeah,
Daniel?
exactly. Are you always that high when you look at yourself in the mirror, Daniel?
Yes, Mom. Yes, I
Yeah,
am.
Mom. I'm high right now. No, but it's funny because to his point, it's like we're just trying to write the best type of song in any style, and we're writers of so many different styles. So why not? Some
Right.
people can only write in one way, and it's like they're stuck in that way. We're writing in many different ways. So
And the good thing is
find a
that
way to make it work.
as long as 5 of us are getting behind our instruments, there's no style of music that we can't make sound like Astral Gates, essentially.
It's true. I think to JJ's point, like the intentional sort of acknowledgement of like how people are consuming music differently and stuff is the fact that we're putting out songs as singles. Like that was a pretty conscious decision on our part. Behind the scenes, we're still listening to it like this cohesive album, and we want to make sure that once it is an album, because I think that's sort of what we're picturing, right? Is eventually all these songs will be part of an album. There's going to be a track list. There's an order that makes sense, that kind of thing. But in the meantime, we're putting out these singles in such a way that to the listener, it's like, oh shit, like, this next single caught me off guard. I just heard You Do. It's heavy as fuck. Like we were expecting that. And then like, oh no, this is another side of Astral Gates. And then eventually, once you have the full album, you can listen top to bottom and get that full experience.
It's like that feeling growing up. I would say I'm a late 90s kid. So just listening to like these awesome records, and they just take you on a roller coaster ride. Coming out of it, you're like, what the fuck did I just listen to? And it was epic. I want to hear it again.
Yeah. You never know what you're going to get. It's like walking into Costco.
And
What's on sale?
Yeah.
if you had to ask me how I was going to end this, I think we just ended it right now.
Yeah,
We're at
that's-
Costco. That
The
was,
whole-
I think, the
this-
perfect ending.
That's literal, dude. Like every song is like doing the turn of Costco and having a little. What's this little
Yeah,
cheesy
yeah,
thing?
exactly.
Oh, okay, that was salty. Oh, what's this fruity thing? Okay.
Ooh, tangerines are on
And then
sale.
at the end, you go and you walk out of there with a $600 bill.
Yeah.
So yeah, hire us for your Hawaiian corporate jingles.
Yeah.
Guys, I know you guys have a jam. You guys are prepping for a lot of stuff that's coming your way. So I just want to say thanks, Dave, for having us here at the Freak Shop and, taking the time to set things up. Dan, for just, bringing this project together and then allowing me to kind of always kind of tag along and see how this is going. And guys, Jay, Dom, Jay, I know you for a long time, definitely. And Dom, getting to know you has been awesome. Evan, it's been awesome getting to know you. So to know that kind of the first start to this whole idea to be with you guys, it makes it fucking awesome. So I just want to say thanks again.
Thank you,
Thank you,
man.
And I appreciate you guys.
Great,
going
great
into this, man.
questions and interviewing skills. I was
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised.
CTV News.
CTV News. Hire me for your.
Watch out with all the compliments, eh?
Yeah, relax. Keep going down. Keep
You
going.
got a
Yeah.
great suit.
Don't worry, you
Dude,
can
I
edit
like
it.
your.
You like-
I like your
Yeah,
hat.
don't stop.
The hat, the Super Nintendo.
Can I have your bracelet, dude? It
You
looks
can have anything, man. Whatever you want.
Thanks a lot, Stefano.
Thanks,
Really
guys.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Hey, thanks for checking out the show. It's been awesome working on this project. And if you like it, tell a friend. And if you want to support the show, you can by 1, subscribing and liking our YouTube channel at the DMW Podcast. 2, you can go to our website and sign up to our mailing list at the DMWpodcast.com. And 3, you can follow us on Instagram at the DMW Podcast. Thanks again for all of your support. My name is Stef, and this is the Dead Man Walking Podcast.